Mac Colgáin, founder of Concept Dairy, as well as my panel, former Conservative Cabinet Minister Sir John Redwood and the historian and broadcaster Tessa Dunlop. Thank you very much for coming in. Tell me about Concept Dairy.
So, Concept Dairy, we're a platform that brings transparency to dairy farmers and show them how much their milk is worth into the future and allows them to lock in those prices. And over the past while, we've been working with farmers all over England, Ireland, and really helping them with that price transparency and helping them get paid above minimum wage, number one, and then getting them paid above the cost of production, which is a huge, huge issue for a lot of farmers.
Because what Charles was saying was that if this tax comes in, they're making £125 an acre at the moment. It'll go down to £60 without some of the subsidies. But they face nearly £200 a year of tax. This is going to be impossible for all dairy farmers who will be taxed on their cattle as well, which is another part of the asset of the farm.
Oh, this is huge. So we've had 440 dairy farmers leave the sector last year. So we've had, every 3 days, we've had 4 dairy farmers leave. It's a huge, huge problem within the industry. Nobody's talking about it. I visited a really lovely dairy farm in South West Wales last week, and they're hanging on by their fingernails without this inheritance tax. And this is the final straw.
The final straw. And you were at the protest earlier on today.
Right.
The noise was phenomenal.
It was, but the support from the public was phenomenal. Absolutely. The public is so much behind the farmers, which is great to see, even though they're inconvenienced in a lot of ways, but the support was really, really good.
It was very strong. And it is a broader problem because every family business, whether it's farming or it's a bakery, whatever it does, it's going to be hit by this if it has any serious assets.
Oh, of course, and it's a massive consideration. It's not just for farming, as you said, it's for small family businesses. We're a small tech startup. It has all the various implications it has for us from a tax perspective and employing staff and everything else. It's huge. This budget has been catastrophic for small business.
And Tess, let me bring you on this, because it seems to me this isn't, from the Labour Party's point of view, about farming or about business. It's rank socialism, that they just want to destroy the ownership of property.
Do you know, I thought about that, and I knew that was the idea that you were going to come with. And part of me, because I explained before that I came from that, heritage of my father working for a big laird, a big Highland estate, and thinking, yeah, bash the laird. But actually, I don't think it is about rank socialism, to quote you back at yourself. I think it's about, and this is going to actually appall you more, it's about environmental zealousness. And I would look towards the likes of Ed Miliband and recognising that if we're going to hit our net zeros, one of the biggest contributors and a harder one to hit is agriculture and food production, accounting for about 21% of our greenhouse gases. If you look at flooding, if you look at the lack of biodiversity, if you look at the ways in which the land has historically been farmed, I believe that the Labour Party want to get their hands on that. And the way they're doing it is taxing the traditional farming model, but saying, look what we bring you, £5 billion worth of tidbits if you buy into our sustainable projects. So therefore, they want to take with one hand and give with the other, and with the giving comes control.
So, John, it's either one mad scheme or another. It's either that they have this potty green agenda, which is making us cold and poor, or it's that they don't believe in land ownership.
Oh, there's a bit of both in it, I think, obviously. But this is a crying shame, and these are very important family businesses. And as you say, Jacob, it goes much wider than the farms, but the farms probably at the brunt of this. They're being clobbered on trying to make any money out of employing people and doing their normal work by a big increase in national insurance. And then at the same time, they have hanging over them that any time the ownership of the family farm needs to change for retirement or for a death in the family, there's a huge tax, which means that you cannot keep that business going, that you have a big tax bill, which means breaking it up or losing it altogether. And we see people, as we're hearing, leaving this crucial industry. People want their milk, they want their butter, they want their beef products. They would like them to be British grain, and they're not allowed to because this government wants to smash them.
I'll bring Diarmaid back on, because that seems to be a very important point, that the people who are going to buy this land aren't going to be farmers. They're going to be builders, house builders, or they're going to be people who want the countryside for fun. That means we will produce less food domestically, which I know you're strong against. You want domestic production. So from Tessa's green argument, all we'll do is shift our emissions abroad. We won't make any difference to total emissions.
This is a great point. In Northwest Europe, England and Ireland, we've got one of the most efficient agricultural production systems. And what we see is, so let's say a UK cow produces between 7,000 and 8,000 litres a season. In India, that cow produces between 2,000 and 3,000 litres a season. Sub-Saharan Africa is 400 litres a season. So this is, we're going to be potentially importing products in from other third countries. There's probably going to be a trade agreement with India coming up now. That potential, India is the largest dairy producer in the world.
I want to come in here and say, I don't believe in those environmental policies. And I think this is where Labour Party has always been out of step with the rural environment and industry, because we have the finest husbandry in the world, actually better than the EU in this country. And what we should be doing is recognising, yes, the consumption of meat will inexorably fall globally, but we should lead the market for the best reared meat that's available on the planet and export it to high-end restaurants and hotels across the world. We should be protecting our livestock.
Let me go in here, because I was in Costco last week and I was looking at beef, sirloin steak, and I saw Australian beef for £20.99 a kilo and UK beef for £25.99. Yeah. So we're already been undercut on the shelves with beef, sirloin beef in Costco. And the problem is, it's not Costco, it's economic models. But the consumer is unaware, because all that beef ends up going into the restaurant trade, into the bar trade, where you don't really see the origin of the beef. Whereas the supermarkets, it's on the sticker on the shelf, the consumer sees it. And that's one of the big issues that we're having here. And it could be high quality beef, but exporting beef to other countries, but we're going to have pressure coming in from a potential trade deal with Brazil coming in.
But finally, no matter how much you squeak, they're not going to change their mind, because if they give in to the farmers, they'll have to give in to the teachers, to the doctors, to the civil servants.
They'll do that anyway. They always give in to the
And all this
sector.
imported meat, of course, then comes with a lot more marine diesel being burned, and so there's actually more CO2 as a result of this ridiculous policy.
All right.
Unfortunately,
we will have to move on. But thank you, Diarmaid, and to my panel. In a moment.